Now that we understand third normal form, let's try to practice it with a different example. So here's a table of sections, perhaps representing an upcoming semester. Is this table in third normal form? Well, again, we have to start with first normal form. We have to look to see if all of the fields are atomic and if there are no repeating attributes. So in terms of being atomic, section number looks pretty good. The course name looks pretty atomic. The building looks pretty atomic. So does the room, the credits, and the capacity. How about the course number? You could make an argument that the course number should be divided up into like a course prefix and then a course number. But I'm going to tell you that for the purposes of this application, we don't want to split those apart. So we're going to consider that to be atomic. And then similarly, you could look at the time slot and say, well, gosh, that should be day of the week and start time and end time, and maybe a collection of those. But I'm going to tell you that no, we're going to assume the time slot's atomic also, because that's just a quick string to represent when the times are. So for this application, this is atomic enough. So if I give them all a check mark for being atomic, I have to see if any of the columns repeat. Are there any repeating information? Are there any commas? And there are not. So yay, we're going to say that we are in first normal form. Are we in second normal form? Well, to be in second normal form, we have to look at all the candidate keys. When I look at this, there are a few candidate keys that could come to mind. So one of them could be the course number and the section number. That could represent one specific section. So I think that is a candidate key. Are there other candidate keys? Well, I could say that the time slot is a candidate key along with the building and the room. So now we know our three non-prime attributes. They would be course name, the credits, and the capacity. So let's take a look at these columns and see if any of them are directly determined by a subset of the candidate key. So we will start with the course name. And so we have computer lab techniques. We have another one, software engineering. And yeah, these do seem to be derived from the course number. If I know the course number, I know the course name. And the course number is a subset of a candidate key. So we are not in second normal form. But let's look at the other ones. Let's look at the credits of the course. Well, the credits of the course are also determined by the course number. Now, the last non-prime attribute is the capacity. It's the capacity of the room. So these two fields, the building and the room, will determine the capacity. That room has the capacity of 36. Bunce 156 has a capacity of 31. And we can see that those two fields are a subset of our second candidate key. So we can say that this system is not in second normal form, and therefore it is not in third normal form either. And this is the second normal form representation of the table, where the fields that were related to the course number, the course name, and credits were pulled into their own table. And the field that was the capacity of the room was pulled into its own table. So all the non-prime attributes have been removed. Now we are in second normal form. And we are also in third normal form, because everything depends on the key directly. The course number and the sequence number determines the time slot, the building, and the room. The course number determines these course fields, and the building determines the capacity. So we're in second normal form, and we are in also third normal form. Okay, so we solved this problem at second normal form, realizing the table was not correct. But let's alter this example a little bit. For whatever reason, let's remove the time slot column. Once we remove the time slot column, we also remove the second candidate key. And that means that we have more non-prime attributes. The building and the room also become non-prime attributes. This also means that from second normal form's point of view, the only partial dependency on a subset of the candidate key would be for the course number going to the course name and the course number going to the number of credits. Without the time slot column, this is the simplest way to convert that table to second normal form. You pull out the attributes that were non-prime that depended on the course number, namely the course name and the number of credits. However, the capacity column is left in the table. Why? Because there's only one candidate key now. The candidate key is course number and section number, and the capacity has nothing to do with a subset of that candidate key, so it remains in the table. This shows how you can take the table without the time slot column to second normal form. But are these tables in third normal form? Let's look at this table first. We have to identify all the candidate keys. Well, there is only one candidate key, and that is the course number. So the course number column is the candidate key. Then the course name and the credits are the non-prime attributes. And each of them are directly dependent. The course number determines the name directly, and the course number determines the number of credits directly. So we would say, yes, this table is in third normal form. But what about the second table? What about the table right here? Well, there is only one candidate key for this table. It's the course number and the section number. So that makes these three attributes, building, room, and capacity, the non-prime attributes. But as we identified before, not every non-prime attribute is directly dependent on every candidate key of the table. So if I know the course number and the section, that will determine the building. That will also determine the room. And yes, the course number and the section will also determine the capacity, but not directly. The direct relationship is between the actual building and room together. Those two fields directly determine the capacity. So like we did previously, we're going to have to remove the non-prime attribute that is not directly dependent on the candidate key of this table. And again, that will reduce redundancy because, as you can see, we have Robinson 325 at capacity 27 once, and we have Robinson 325 at capacity 27 twice. So to bring this to third normal form, we will eliminate that redundancy. And here's the third normal form representation, where we pull out the relationship between the capacity and the building in the room into its own table. This looks very much like the second normal form representation of the previous example where we had the time slot. So as you can see, second normal form and third normal form are very much like each other, except that second normal form looks at components of a composite candidate key, and third normal form does not. So I'm hoping this gives some illustration as to how third normal form works and how you can compare and contrast it to second normal form.